I'm Nino Gonzalez, and welcome to another episode of Making Sense. Well, today we have a gentleman here, John Romero from Romero Consulting, who is also an instructor with the Small Business Development Center. A few shows back, I had interviewed the executive director from the Small Business Development Center, and we've had such great response that we're going to talk a little bit more about some future courses that are coming up. And John, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come join me here and talk about the program that the Small Business Development Center is going to offer.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, John.
I'm married and I have a couple of sons. I've been in the business, in the tax part of the business now, people don't believe it, but probably almost for 40 years.
Wow.
And that goes back to my parents. I've been doing taxes, bookkeeping and all that since about while I was in high school.
And you developed that into a business.
And I've basically have developed that into a business. I kind of separated away from my parents and started my own office, and just basically we've grown our business from there.
And then you became involved with the Small Business Development Center, and now you're teaching some courses for them. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is. It's been about 4 or 5 years now where I was involved with the Small Business Development Center in regards to the IRS and doing some classes in conjunction with them. And about a year after that is when the SBDC got me involved in, hey, let's put something together for tax preparers.
Great. So we know that tax season is coming up. You know, this year went by quickly and it's right around the corner. And this is when tax preparers are getting ready for the new season. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm sure most tax preparers out there are bombarded with just emails and mail that just comes across. You got to get your continuing education, and so there is a new level of education. All of us as preparers, we now have to go and we have to get educated and continually every year on new topics, updates, and things to that nature.
So this is what the Small Business Development Center is offering to people who want to get involved with the tax preparation business, correct?
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about the class and what it's going to cover.
The first class that we're offering, it's going to start November 2nd. And what it is, it's 12 hours per week for 3 weeks. And so we're going to go Monday through Thursday. And that class is going to run from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So 3 hours a night. Wow. For 4 days, 3 weeks, and that's going to happen. So what the class actually is this is what we call an income tax preparation class. And I'm sure many people, you see lots of advertising by private companies out there that offer an income tax school.
Right.
Well, this is what this is. It basically says if you know nothing about taxes, then we want to teach you the basics about taxes. The bottom line is, at the end of this whole course, you'll be able to, whether you want to prepare your own tax or if you want to go get a part-time job with a company like ours or even one of the other firms, you can start doing taxes for others.
Yeah, because it's a good extra money-making opportunity and possibly could develop into a future business as a small entrepreneur.
Exactly, exactly. In fact, I've had, through the years, the many years, we have employees that come, they start working with us on a part-time basis just during tax season, and then they grow and they start working full-time with us, and they have gone on to open their own businesses. And so if you want to dedicate yourself to saying, hey, I want to learn how to do taxes, and you're a numbers person and you like all that stuff, this is good for you.
So you take them through all the basics and teach them about the forms and how to fill them out and everything, so they can prepare up to what level of taxes? We know there's the basic, maybe intermediate, advanced.
We take them to the point, what we do is we start at the beginning. The way the course runs, there's 20 chapters in the course. And so the person has access to one, we give them a nice big workbook that they get to go through. The other part is they have actual online quizzes and tests just to keep up with the knowledge. Are they learning as they go along? But the other part is they get to go through, and as they go through each one of the modules, we start as simple as what is income tax. We talk about the ethics of income tax, because us as preparers in the industry, we are responsible to a higher level of information that we carry, the information we provide with our clients. So we can't just be doing anything out there. There is a level of what we do
Sure.
that makes sense and stuff, and in the world of the IRS. So that being said, then we start at the very basic. Let's talk about income, and we define all the different types of income. Let's talk about expenses, and we define all that. Talk about the different taxes, and we define all that. Then we work it to the point of saying, okay, now how does this relate to the actual schedules and the forms on the tax return? The way we do the class is I have the clients, and I have the students, and we actually are going through and manually they're filling out tax returns.
Great.
And this is the best way for them to learn, because they start to understand, how does this form and this schedule relate to the 1040? And so if I change this number, how does it affect other numbers? And it's a constant where you're starting to move numbers and see how it all works out.
And I agree, that's the best way to learn it. I teach tax also, and for the college, and I teach it based on the forms, and then we move to the software, because they've got to understand how these forms are connected with one another.
Exactly.
So I understand that the IRS now has requirements for you to become a tax preparer, like not just anybody off the street can prepare taxes like it was before. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
The IRS is basically, over the past, it's been about 5 years now, where the IRS tried to pull down, they kind of pushed down the preparer industry that says, if you're going to prepare 10 tax returns or more for a fee, then there's an expectation on your side that says, one, you have to get licensed with us. And what does that mean? You go out there and you get what they call a PETN number, or the practitioner tax ID number. So now me as an individual, I now have a separate ID number within the world of tax preparers with the IRS. Okay. So they can identify any of the tax returns that I put my name on in their system. So one, they want to know that. The other part is they want you to have, we need you to have education tied to you, and we're going to keep track of this. So they do that also. The third part of it is at first they started forcing everybody to go through and actually test out and say, you have to take a test.
Right.
Legal issues back up in New York, and somebody sued the IRS. The Loving case came out, and basically that kind of got put back on the back burner, and the IRS can't force you to do that. Well, the IRS says, okay, we went back, we revamped this. Okay, we're not going to force you to do this, but if you want to be on this, it's a website that says, I want to go check Nino, if he's a credible tax preparer, then I put his name in their system, and it will tell me, good or bad, is the guy, does he have the minimum knowledge and qualifications to do a tax return?
Right. Are they using this as some sort of a quality control on their effort also?
I would say the IRS is probably trying to use this on a quality control. They use our PETN numbers to identify us with the types of tax returns we're doing.
Right.
And I know tax preparers, other preparers that have come to me that have received letters from the IRS. Say, for instance, if you're in a low-income area and most of the tax returns you're doing, well, obviously you're going to people from the neighborhood.
Right.
Low income, earned income credit, child tax credit. So that kind of raises the IRS's level of saying, yes, right. That says, we want to look, and we're going to keep track of this guy, Nino, because he sure puts out a whole lot of tax returns with extra credits.
Correct.
And so it allows the IRS now to start identifying the kind of tax returns you're doing.
And I think that's why the IRS started this, because there was a lot of fraudulent returns, especially with the earned income credit, which was being abused a lot, especially with the tax preparation industry.
Exactly, exactly. The IRS continues. Fraud is a huge issue in their system, whether it's on the preparer side, whether it's on the fraudulent preparers that are out there acting as credible preparers. The IRS is constantly trying to monitor that and coming up with different ways on how do we go about identifying fraud.
So once they go through this course, can they apply for that PTIN number?
Yes, they'll finish the course before the end of November. To get your PETN number, typically you've got to get fingerprinted through the federal level. And through all this, you pay a fee. That whole process typically takes about 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
So you can have your PETN before the end of the year. You're good to go. And to be honest with you, you can already say, hey, you can get out with any of these software companies. You have your credentials. I want to buy your software. I want to start doing taxes.
And the reason they're fingerprinting is, are they running a criminal background check on these potential preparers?
Yes, they are. And I have known preparers that have not passed.
And I think also sometimes they do run a credit check also, don't they?
Some of them, they will, and it depends on the level of what they're looking for. And
Right.
I think a lot of it has to do on the information going in on the application in conjunction with what they're seeing on the fingerprint background.
And this course that is being offered by the Small Business Development Center, and how much is the cost of this course?
The cost of the course is $399.
Okay.
And so that covers everything that I spoke about, the workbook, the online access. And the online access, you have a whole year. So let's say, okay, John, I'm not fired up about jumping into doing taxes this coming tax season. You can still, with the workbook, still keep taking and going through the modules up for a full year.
Wow.
So you don't have to, like, I have to finish it before the end of this year. So you can keep on and just keep going at it and working at it at your own pace. And you have access to that on your own computer. You log in, your own password, and you have access to that.
Okay. And during the break, we're going to be putting up the address for the Small Business Development Center so they can go ahead and contact that office, and if they want to register, they can register for that course. So are you one of the primary instructors that conducts this class? Is there a group of instructors?
I am the guy.
You are the guy?
I am the guy. I'm the guy all 12 classes.
Wow, so we know where you are during those evenings.
Yeah, there, exactly.
Oh, well, that's great. And do you bring in some of your professional experience to the course to help these individuals that want to be potential tax preparers?
I think part of, I believe that part of it, which is very helpful to a lot of the students, is I bring real life examples to it. When I give them, once we finish a module and we talk about, say for instance, itemized deductions, I talk about the do's and don'ts and all the experiences I hear. Everybody wants to deduct everything,
right.
Of course. Nobody wants to pay. But I bring real examples to it, and then when I give them the actual, hey, this is the worksheet, the work papers examples for this module, they're actually, and then obviously I change information, but they're actually from examples of
right.
tax returns of Vive that we've actually prepared.
You know, and as both of us being tax preparers, I don't prepare as many now, but some of the stories that we've been exposed to, and you want to claim your dog as a dependent, and you want to take this as a deduction, and you know.
A year doesn't go by that I don't hear the, oh, can I claim my dog? My number one answer to them is go get a Social Security
right.
number for them.
or vet bills, veterinarian
yeah,
bills as medical expenses on itemized deductions.
There you go.
So I think we've heard that, and that's great that you're able to bring those stories to your class, because these are things that you are exposed to
yes.
as a tax preparer, as outlandish as they might seem, but
yeah.
that brings real life to that course.
And the reality is, a lot of people think the more questions I ask, who knows, one of them may slip in.
Sure.
And they don't know any better. And so on our end, obviously we think no, no. And we're sitting there kind of the Gestapo of it, no, no, no. But, you know, there's some legitimate questions that people have.
Right. Well, we're going to continue on this discussion on the second half of Making Sense, and we're going to be talking about another tax course that the Small Business Development Center is conducting. Thank you. Welcome to the second half of Making Sense, and we're talking with John from Romero Consulting, who is also an instructor with the Small Business Development Center, and we were talking about this great extra income opportunity for people that want to prepare taxes during this upcoming tax season, either on their own or trying to get in with an office. But now you also have another program for people that are already in the tax preparation business, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
This is for those tax preparers that already are preparing tax returns They already have a PETN number with the IRS, so they have their ID number with them. And so they now need continuing education.
Okay.
Last year was a prorated year. It wasn't the full year, so most people only needed up to 15 hours. Well, this year's the full year, and so every preparer out there that's doing tax returns, that's what we call an unenrolled preparer. They're not an enrolled agent, a CPA, or an attorney. Everybody who's not one of those, they're obligated to get 18 hours of continuing education.
And do these 18 hours, do they have to be specifically on taxes?
They break it down, and so they break it down in 10 hours, I believe, are tax-related issues. There are 3 hours of updates and 2 hours of continuing education, and I believe the other 3 were also in tax law.
Okay.
And stuff. So they kind of break it down to the type of classes that you're taking.
And I'm sure probably there's an ethics component in there.
The 2 hours of ethics, every year you
Right.
got to get 2 hours of ethics, no matter what.
And so this program is being offered by the Small Business Development Center. So tell me the name of the program and when it's going to be and how long it will be for.
This program, it's the AFSP, or the Annual Filing Season Program. And so this program by the SBDC that they're offering is going to be on December 3rd, and it's going to be from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. So it's six hours of live instruction, and I'll be the instructor. It'll be 6 hours of live instruction. You get access to an online portal individually so that you can take up to 15 hours total. So between the 6 hours, the additional 9 hours online, so you can pull out of this class 15 hours out of this and stuff. So that's the idea with this. And then there's a component that says you can take, because we should still, when you talk about the testing with the IRS, you still have to take a test. But that's kind of, are you an exempt or a non-exempt preparer? And that kind of takes it to the next level.
Right. So as we mentioned before, the exam is recommended, but it's not required, correct?
Exactly. That testing that they do, and it's a testing for what they call minimum basic knowledge of preparing tax returns. And so it's not like it's a super difficult test, but what it does is it actually just tests your knowledge in itemized deductions, Schedule C's, Schedule E's as far as rental properties and basic stuff that's out there when you're doing tax returns. They're not doing business returns as corporations or partnerships. It's nothing like that.
Well, I think as a tax preparer, I think I would like to be recognized for those qualifications because I think it gives the public a little bit more assurance of who they're dealing with.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it does. And so the caveat that the IRS holds out there, one, you have your PETN ID number with them.
Correct.
But the other part, if you test and pass, as the hope is for them, is they have set up a separate website. So they can go in and they can go Google John Romero on this IRS site, and they can see, okay, did he pass the test? Does he have a legitimate PETN ID number? And the IRS site says, has he passed, has he failed? And then they'll tell you how long he's been in business.
Right. And so this program that you are offering, so this is for a catch-up or trying to complete all your CPE or your continuing education in one shot, because I'm assuming it's due by December 31st, correct?
It's all due December 31. So you need to get, for all of those tax preparers that have waited and waited and waited, you need to have it in by December 31.
Right. And how much is the cost?
The cost of the class is $199.
Okay. Oh, that's not bad for that many CPE
picking up
hours.
15 hours plus the test.
Right.
So you get to take the test and you'll know whether yes or no you passed. And then all that information gets forwarded to the IRS site, and then you're taken care of.
Because I know as a CPA, when I'm doing CPE hours, for 1 hour it could cost me about $15 to $30 an hour. So that's a great deal.
Yes.
So is this, so I'm assuming, is this course going to be on a weekend, since
This
it's an
course
all
is
day?
it's on December 3rd, and if I'm not mistaken, that's on a Friday.
It's on a Friday.
I believe so. It's a Thursday or Friday, December 3rd. And so, again, it's just meant to be from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. And so, one, it's not early in the morning, and two, you're out before the end of the day.
Great. And so this covers any updates with regards to tax law that might be coming up?
We'll do the 2 hours of ethics, and we'll do 3 hours of updates. So we'll do those 5 hours, and then we'll talk about a couple of other issues that most people will have as far as 1099 workers, employees. There's a host of different stuff we can discuss and that we'll go through.
Well, that's great that the Small Business Development Center is offering this class here, because a lot of times when you're wanting this type of education, you have to go out of town, and that's an additional expense, paying for airfare and the hotel and meals. At least here you're giving the opportunity for these tax preparers that live and work here in El Paso to come here and get that quality education. About how many do you expect, or how many is your average attendance?
For this class, the AFSP, last year we did one, and we ran one in January last year, but that was just another refresher class. And if I'm not mistaken, we probably had in the neighborhood of about 40, 45 people that attended. Wow. And it's not just the El Paso, but I mean, there's people in the New Mexico area.
In the surrounding areas.
In the surrounding areas that this counts. All of us have prepared tax returns, not just El Paso, but all over.
Right,
I mean,
or you might get some people from, Fort Stockton or Del City, or, those places.
And so this is it's a great avenue. You get it all done in one day. You have access to this. You get to go home, finish it off, however many hours. Some people, they only need 8 hours. Some people need 5 hours. I know some people need 12 hours. So everybody's different. So this allows you to fill up your void and then take the test and then get on board.
Okay, great. And can you tell me about other courses that you teach with the Small Business Development Center? I know that it's not just these tax courses that are coming up in November and December, but you do some other training and teaching during the year.
In the summer months, usually the middle of June and in the middle of July, I work together with the SBDC, and what we do is we bring one of the guests from the Texas Comptroller's Office, and they get to talk about sales tax.
Okay.
So a lot of small businesses have issues with sales tax, so they come and talk about that. And when we start to discuss that, I'll also take an hour and discuss sales tax audits and the implications with that with the state of Texas. Another one of the days, what we'll do is we'll bring in somebody from the Texas Workforce Commission, and they talk about the unemployment tax for the state of Texas.
Right.
Well, in that one, I'll go through and I'll talk about the difference between W-2 employees and 1099 contractors. It's a very misconceived idea that people have out there. And then the third one, we'll just talk about basic bookkeeping, what you're, as a business owner, what you're responsible for doing. And a lot of small businesses, I would say that's probably one of the biggest reasons why many small businesses fail, is because they don't understand or they don't keep track of the administrative side of the business.
Right.
The bookkeeping side, the paying the tax side, and the IRS and the state of Texas are more than happy to shut businesses down because you don't keep up with your taxes.
Right.
It's that simple.
Yeah, and I've known a lot of small businesses that fail because of that reason. And you plan to succeed, but you don't plan to fail.
Exactly.
And I think with a lot of small businesses, and when we had another program with the Small Business Development Center, when we were talking about business planning, and I think that's a valuable resource that they help you with, is preparing a business plan, because sometimes it might not be a viable business, and you don't know until you sit down and actually write about it and look at the numbers.
And the numbers don't lie.
Right.
You and I know that. I mean, you can tell me the story 100 times, but once I put numbers to it, I basically just turn it back around to the client and tell them, this is what you're telling me. These are the numbers to it. You tell me.
Right. And another thing that you were mentioning was with the small business owner not being involved with the administrative issues.
Yes.
They're so busy out there trying to get sales or contracts.
Yeah.
And usually they depend on one individual. an office manager, and sometimes that's also subject to embezzlement because they trust that individual so much, and I've seen that happen with a lot of small businesses because the owner doesn't want to be heavily involved with the accounting or the bookkeeping aspect or the payroll aspect, and that really hurts them a lot.
And how many times have we heard from small business owners is, I never suspected they would do that.
Right.
And that's, to the IRS, ignorance is no excuse.
Sure.
You're still responsible for your business. And so that's what I always try to hit home with my clients is, I understand you're not the guy doing the bookkeeping, and I get that. But you still need to know when they run actual financials, or when you're looking at it, you have to know what that means. You have to understand your financial statements, profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow, whatever that is, you need to understand all of this. And that's kind of what we try to do, is push them to take that business to the next level that says, how do I start tracking my business, and how do I understand what it is my business is doing?
The thing is that some of these small business owners come to these classes after the fact, after it has happened to them, and that now they're interested in this aspect. The way I teach my classes, I teach it that way too to my students, is that I don't care what type of business major you are, but accounting is the language of business. And a lot of these individuals, they want to be entrepreneurs or small business owners. You got to know accounting. You got to know bookkeeping. You got to know how to read an income statement, a balance sheet, a statement of cash flows. Know a little bit about taxes. Even though you're not going to be the one who's preparing it, but at least you can review whoever is doing that work.
I agree. Small business owners, again, I mean, you can hear no matter any business, whether it's a professor, an instructor talking about it, we all know as small business owners, we wear many, many hats. And that is probably the most important one. I get, like you're saying, most small business owners is the guy that's growing the business and he's doing all that. But you can't forget about the administrative, the bookkeeping, accounting side of the business. You just can't.
Well, when I brought Mr. Ferguson in for a few shows, the executive director of the Small Business Development Center, and really, I mean, the response I got was that nobody knew this center existed.
And for free.
And for free. A lot of these resources for free, and a lot of information on the web for free. And so I'm glad I brought you in, and we were able to talk about these courses that you're offering to hopefully people that want to earn some extra income, or maybe make a career change in becoming a professional tax preparer, and having the basics of doing that, and then updates for those that are already in the tax profession, and that you're offering that continuing education here. Because a lot of people, they really don't know about the resources that are here in El Paso, and you don't have to spend a lot of money, or sometimes no money for it.
I agree, and I refer even my clients that want to do business planning and stuff, I'll refer my clients over here just because I know they have the resources, they have the time, and they're doing it for free. And that's a great resource.
Well, thank you for taking part of your day and coming and talking to us about these exciting courses that are going to be available for tax preparers and for potential tax preparers through the Small Business Development Center. Thank you, John.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And we're going to be bringing you back and talking some more about small business topics. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.